Yes, sir. We are live. Bro, what's
Yeah,
happening, man? Catch me up. What's going on? We haven't been together in a
man.
couple of weeks.
I know it's been a while. You was too busy doing some cold plunges in the mountains and stuff like that. I get my head wilding. I'm good, man. I'm good. Work is crazy. We trying to get to the end of this calendar year, like the rest of us, and get to a break. But I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Kids are good. Family's good. Everybody's good, man. How about you?
Same, man. Everybody's good. You know how it works, man. One day above ground, another day above ground is a blessing
That's
and
right.
an opportunity to make a difference. And so, we out here just trying to make differences, man.
I know how it is. I know how it is. Listen, how you feeling from your cold plunge? You feeling good? You feeling like did you
So,
get like
so,
energy?
so, so I honestly, I want to talk to the viewers about this. So, folks, I had the opportunity to do a cold plunge sauna circuit, and so based off of the preliminary research, and then also my learned experiences, I would say it is a great way to get your mojo back, man. And so I'm in subarctic body water temperatures or whatever, and then 2 minutes in there, and then some time in the sauna to kind of decompress, get the toxins out and stuff like that. Wonderful opportunity. So if you're at a gym and you're hesitant on if that's the thing for you, I'm telling you right now, it's the thing for you. It gets you right. And Steve, I offer you up the opportunity to engage the next time we are together at Lone Rock. I feel like it's our calling, bro.
Ain't nothing about me wants to get in some cold ass water. It's just not.
I said the same thing, bro. And so basically what happens, right, is that men, their egos and like competition. And so
Yeah,
initially I'm like, yeah, I tried once. I get in 47 seconds. I'm like, nah, bro, this ain't for me. And so I go back into the sauna, to get
yeah.
gather my senses, right? And so then Graham, shout out Graham,
Shout out to Graham.
he goes in for 2 minutes. Shout out Forte Prep. He goes in for 2 minutes, and I'm like, nah, bro, I am not about to let Graham outlast me. And so then I go out and I'm like, and I do about a 2 minute 40-second John, yo. I'm like, man, I'm trying to get myself to Tim Hudson level, man. Shout out Dr.
Shout
Tim
out to
Hudson,
Tim.
who is the originator from C40 in terms of the cold plunge. And so yeah, that's what I'm trying to get, man. I'm trying to get next level Zen. Um
Yeah.
the
That's
video you
called what
saw.
you're talking about. It's called frostbite. That's what you're talking about.
That's what, perhaps. Speaking of frostbite, the Knicks were frostbitten the other night. Ice Tray came into the Garden, and we're not going to Vegas because of Ice Tray.
I so I had a feeling about it. They had a little lead at halftime, and I was like, no, no, no. I was like, I don't know. I feel like Trey gonna turn it on.
Yeah,
And I slipped away for a little while because I was watching something else. And I came back and I was like, yo, what is happening right now?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm gonna say the same thing I always say with them, and that is I feel like there's absence when you don't have a real big man in the middle, right? And everyone is just switching and trying to sort of defend everybody at once, you're gonna leave people open. And Trey took us apart. It's the way it happens.
yeah. Bro, shout out Cat. I think Cat is a big man who's going to get
Yeah.
down there and get physical when he needs to get down there and get physical, and then he
When,
happens to be
when's
versatile.
it? When's that gonna happen? Let me know.
Hey, listen, he happens to be versatile, and Cat's making some things happen. Right now, we're what 15-10.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
15-10. I feel like we're looking good. We over 500.
Yeah.
You know,
Listen, I
so
ain't mad at nobody.
we
I'm
about
just
to go on this run. Mikael Bridges is starting to shoot better, starting to play better. I still don't think he's worth. I still don't think he's worth everything that we gave up to get him at all. I was looking at something that's like the worst trades in NBA history, and
mm-hmm.
they had the Mikael Bridges trade as
All
like
right.
one
Really?
of those trades. They didn't go in debt, but that's a
No,
real
no,
bad trade, man. We gave up a
that's
lot
a
of
bad
assets.
trade. I just don't like to lose to Atlanta. I hate to lose to Trey. Ever since those playoffs a couple years ago, I just like. I think you said it on the chat. He's the new Reggie Miller for us, and that irks me. Right, I start to get that feeling like he's gonna do whatever it takes to beat us, and that bothers me.
Yeah. I mean, bro, whatever it takes. All right. So speaking of bad trades and bad signings and whatnot, I'm
Don't
gonna
talk
give you the
about my
floor.
boy.
Give you the floor. You can talk about this Juan Soto thing that happened.
15 years, $765 million. Uncle Steve Cohen came through and brought Juan Soto to the Mets. I'm excited about this. It ain't my money. I don't care how much he spent. I just want people who can hit baseballs, get on base, and score runs. I think it is the craziest contract. No human being should be paid that much money to play a sport. But as long as they're giving money out, I want my team to have the best players, and I'm good with that. So I'm ready. Let's go, Mets. I'm excited
So
about this.
I'm making a pitch for myself. So I think that I am the Juan Soto. I'm the Ray Soto of nonprofit. And so if anybody's out there that's trying to pay me $1 billion in order to come and turn your nonprofit around, I am here for it. Right. So like, if you try to open up that checkbook and make a record offer to Dr. Ankrum, I'm pulling up. I don't care about the Yankees. Yo.
No, it's one of those things like yes, it is sweeter that the deal that the Yankees were offering Juan Soto was not that far off from the deal
At all.
that,
Yeah.
right, that the Mets offered him. So the fact that he chose to come to the Mets is,
But there were some reasons why, but you know what? This is a good conversation, right? And the reason
yeah,
being is because not everything, this right here is not really a good argument, but like not everything is factored in money. So like when you make an
yeah,
employment decision, a lot of times you can look at things like the fringe benefits or whatever,
yeah.
and then you can make the best you can make the best decision for you and your family, right? Because I
Hmm.
know that there's been jobs that I've said, you know what, this may not pay me the most in terms of like every option that I have on the table, but it gives me the flexibility to be able to like live a good life and
Yeah.
tackle some of the challenges that I want to tackle. But I'm hearing that one of the things that kind of made him gravitate towards Queens was that he requested a suite for his family to watch him play. The Yankees were
No,
like, nah, bro. We're not giving. We didn't give Jeter a suite. We didn't give A-Rod a suite. We're not giving you a suite, bro. And so,
listen, it could have been that. Listen, I think that what's fascinating here with this money is that it is the largest contract I think anyone's ever gotten
generational
in any
wealth,
sport.
bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
It's generational wealth, and I'm a firm believer. Like if you have the skill and somebody's willing to pay you for it, go. But I think to your point around money not being worth it, always worth it. I heard early in my career that sort of saying, you take a job for the money, but you stay at a job for your coworkers. And so whenever I see anyone leave an organization, that's what goes through my head. I think you take a job for the money, but you leave jobs for your coworkers. And I don't know if he was. I think he was probably a little bit of both of taking money and leaving coworkers, and maybe there was some beef there. All the stuff's coming out now that him and Judge didn't get along, whatever that is you know, and at first I thought the money was closer than it is, right? At first, on the face of it, only looks like $5 million, but the way they structured it,
Yeah,
it's actually closer to
it's
like 100. It's like
yeah,
$100 million, which
it
isn't
is,
it's that's a big difference. But when you're making 765, if he truly wanted to be a Yankee, he'd still be a Yankee.
bro. 5 years after the contract, he has the opportunity to opt out.
Yeah.
And then it escalates, right? So like I look at this contract, bro. This is a Bobby Bonilla contract, but
Mhm.
it's a Bobby Bonilla contract, but it's not the person that owned the Mets. It's not a Bobby Bonilla owner. Like
Yeah, yeah.
Steve
He's not
Cohen
the
has
Will
more money
Thomas.
than
Yeah.
there's not very many people that have more money than Steve Cohen, right? And so
Yeah.
it's a good investment. But also, I will say that he's not even the number one baseball player in the National League, bro. You already know
No.
who that is. He's a Dodger. He's a
Well,
Dodger.
I mean, yeah, and he would have the biggest annual salary if the Dodgers didn't defer. Like that's the next
That's
Bobby
smart.
Bonilla,
But that's
right?
smart.
Yeah, that's smart now, but that's what we thought about Bobby back then. We're like, oh, we're not paying Bobby now, and now every June everyone was
They
like,
already
Bobby
made
Bonilla day.
yeah, but they already made that money back.
Yeah. I
Off of
listen. I
winning the
think it was
World
smart.
Series. Off of winning the World
Yeah.
Series, they already made that money back.
They made the money back. They picked up a new market in Japan, right? A lot of
Huge
folks not
market.
watching.
Huge
It's a
market.
huge market. So yeah, I mean, look, I think it's smart. He's not the best player. He is, however, potentially the one of the best hitters all time in baseball,
And
right? I mean, I
maybe
think
one of the best pitchers too.
no, I'm actually talking about Soto though. I'm talking
Oh, you
like
talking about
I think
something?
Juan.
Oh, you know,
I think Juan.
I keep hearing people make that argument, right?
Yeah,
That like he has a swing, his vision or whatever, like makes
yeah,
him like legendary in terms of that. But then here's where we got to factor in. He's 26.
yeah.
It's 182 game season, and we got to factor in durability. We also got to factor in
Hmm.
the fact that he is a liability in the outfield. Um,
He can't
bro,
catch a cold out there.
there's a
Yeah,
lot of things to
yeah,
factor in.
yeah. He can't catch a cold out there.
Once you're 26 years old and you're a bad outfielder, you're always going to be a bad outfielder. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, the reality is most baseball players don't break in until they're 23, 24, 25 anyway. He broke
yeah.
in at 19. He's got a World Series. He's been like he is way more mature at the plate than people who are double his age. And then like I think he is what they call a generational talent from a hitting perspective. It's not just that he hits home runs, but he's a complete hitter, doubles, he gets on base, he's a get on base
What's his
machine,
batting
right?
average?
I think last year was like 290, right? 280,
Bro,
290
you talking
around.
about, bro, 290 is not generational.
It is.
Yo,
It is. It
Ted
is.
Williams
It
batted
is. It is
400,
in this
bro.
game. It
Let's
is
put
in
this
this
in
game.
perspective.
Yeah. Listen. Yeah, but we say yes. Ted Williams was batting 400, right? But it was a different game back then, right? This is a game where
Barry Bonds was batting 330, and
Barry Bonds was
we don't.
back
That's
in the.
alleged. We're not. That's a that's alleged. That was never proved, bro.
He was on the
And
juice.
yo,
Yeah.
Yo, I think Barry Bonds should be in the hall. Let me tell you that right now.
He absolutely should be in the hall.
Even if he was on the juice, bro, if you look at his numbers prior to when he was skinny Barry Bonds was a legendary talent, bro.
Yeah.
A
No.
generational talent.
He that is a generational talent. He should be in the hall. Pete Rose should be in the hall. But baseball has this like ethics thing about them, right? None of those dudes is in the hall.
Major League Baseball's like Democrats, bro. They don't play to
Facts.
win. They don't play to win.
Eat your own. Eat your own.
Bro, Democrats don't play to win. They too hung up on ethics, bro. And you see all of the unethical things that are happening right now in terms of what's about the what we're about to encounter for the next 4 years.
Did you see that Trump just made an announcement that he's actually not going to be allowed to be able to lower groceries?
Bro, that's like the second or third big one that second or third revelation.
Never mind. I was only kidding.
I was only kidding. Nah, I'm actually not going to be able to do this. Even though it was my political platform and I ran on it, I'm actually not going to be able to do this. And I wanted to let you know as soon as I knew.
He don't know the price of a gallon of milk or the price of a loaf of bread anyway, so it don't matter to him.
We'll never know. So, bro, people about Fafo. Y'all we at the find out stage and they about to find out. So, bro, set us up, set the stage up, man, for the article that you shared.
Yeah. So the Western it's an organization called WICHE. It's an acronym. I don't remember exactly what it's for, but WICHE collaborates with a couple of other organizations. College Board is one of them, and they predict graduating class size in the future. Higher ed institutions, universities use their data to help plan for the future. And so like they're able to look 5, 10, 15 years out into the future and project the number of total students who are going to graduate from high school, in the class of 2030 or the class of 2035, class of 2036. And it's an important planning tool. They use, obviously projections are only as good as the historical data you put into them, but which has been, relatively on point when it came to predicting future graduating classes. They recently released their annual Knocking at the Door report, which sort of details and projects the number of graduates that they're expecting in the next couple of years. And I think what they're seeing right now is They project that we're going to hit a high of about 3.9 million graduates at the end of this school year. And then between now and 2041, we'll lose about 500,000 high school graduates out of that graduating class. So they're predicting a much smaller, I think probably like close to 10, 11% decrease in the number of students graduating from high school between now and 2041.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for bringing that in. All right, so I guess the first question for us is, what are the key factors that influence the number of high school graduates in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think there's a couple of societal factors, and I think there's educational factors, right? The societal factors are, birth rates and live births. I think are sort of the big piece of it. How many young people are going to start school at any given time? They're predicting decreases both in live births and in birth rates, and so that starts to shift it. I think you'll also see shifts in terms of as the number of students and as the diversity of students start to shift. If you look at historical trends, students who come from disadvantaged communities who are more likely to be students of color tend to graduate high school at lower rates. That has an impact on graduation rates in the future as well. And so there are societal factors that connect to it. I also think there are, obviously educational factors. You've talked about things like COVID and learning loss. And so as we think about this, what we're talking about, I think for many high schools, for many colleges, the future of smaller enrollment could mean the difference between whether or not that institution persists or not.
100%, man. Especially in these schools that have like small markets or whatever, right?
Yeah.
In which you have like schools that are competing for one another. So like in markets where there's like school choice or whatever, so you may have like a
Yeah.
parochial school, you may have a charter school, and then you may have a traditional public school, and all these folks in this area are vying for the same students, right? And so
Mhm.
meeting your benchmark could mean you being able to like open your doors for the next year. And then not meeting your benchmark means that you may have to cede and say, you know what, I can no longer run my school based off of the revenue of what we're bringing in. And so
Yeah.
definitely something to look at in terms of that. But I think my one push for America writ large is that we need to find these COVID kids, because there's so many kids that we still have not found that are just where are these kids?
Yeah. And I mean, I think the long-term implications are, so I think the first folks who will feel this obviously will be schools and
Yeah.
colleges, right? As their enrollment starts to suffer. But I mean, you're eventually talking about, fewer folks in the job markets with sort of
Mhm.
professional careers. This
Yeah.
has an economic impact to it in the long run,
Yeah.
in the future of our economy. And so this is no small thing. In the past, when we've had even small dips in the number of graduates, many colleges, that's when they've ramped up their international, like recruiting
Mhm.
internationally, right?
Yeah.
And that can last for a little while, but unless you're looking at significant enrollment from outside the US, or unless something changes drastically in the way we are thinking about our immigration policy and the way folks' family planning policies in the US, like the reality is we're going to have fewer fewer workers in the workforce in the next 15, 20 years, and that's a big impact, I think, on the US generally.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. So I think the next question we need to unpack is how might the projected changes in racial and ethnic composition of high school graduates impact future college enrollments and workforce diversity? I mean, like we talk about this in the chat, man. You see, all
Yeah.
these things that are happening at these you call them highly selective no,
I,
I'm sorry, highly rejective, highly
no,
reject, highly rejective colleges.
I stole that from my man Akil Bello, but yes, highly rejected institutions.
So what do you think that's looking like?
I don't know. I think what we're going to see. I think where this hits most are the smaller colleges, universities, the liberal arts institutions. They will be, I think, really strapped because they live on enrollment, right? And so for them, they're going to have to find new and different ways. You might see more and more of those schools closing. We're already seeing that trend. More and more of those schools close, or you might see more partnerships and mergers between those institutions. And so I think it's a real question. I also think, as we talked about, the across the board, I think some of the biggest dips, both from a percentage perspective and from a number perspective, is in students who identify as white graduating high schools. And so the complexity and the complexity is probably the wrong word, but the diversity of that graduating class is also going to shift pretty significantly. And so for institutions that are looking to survive, they're going to have to get much better at recruiting students who they potentially have not recruited, communities they haven't recruited from before. They're going to have to get better at creating campus environments that are welcoming to students who might be first in their family, who might be, students of color trying to, enter predominantly white institutions. It's going to require a higher institution to make some pretty significant changes.
Yeah, and I just don't know if they're there yet, man. It's like, yo, everybody has this commitment to this. Everybody had, let me not say have. Everybody had these commitments to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and
Yeah.
like you're seeing that being walked back. And then based off of
Yeah.
this article, and then based off of impeding data, it needs to be further studied in terms of like how people are committing to diversity. Because if not, that could make or break your higher education institution. And then also, this is kind of our way of making a plea to these college presidents, because a lot of times when you get to the level of college president, your ego is just really big. And so you rather the demise of your university or your college rather than to reach down the road and say, hey, throw us a lifeline in terms of being able to collaborate and possibly blend institutions so that our institution can live on. A perfect example is that, man, when I was in Albany, St. Rose was down the street. It was Albany was Division I, St. Rose was Division II, but it was like we used to practice together and like all the things, right? And like when you went downtown, like St. Rose was a staple. And so I haven't been to Albany in a while, but I know St. Rose no longer exists, and that's a shame, bro.
Yeah, I think it's a real shame. And the other thing that this projects, like it also for students who identify as Black, they're projecting a 22% decrease in the number of students who are identified as Black graduating from college, by between now and 2041. And so, like, complexity here is that we're talking about is real, right? The graduating class is going to look significantly different than it does now. They are seeing and they're projecting increases in Latinx, Latino identifying students. That's one of the few populations that they're saying will grow. And so the graduating class will look very different than it does now in 2041. I mean, again, these are projections. Things can happen between now and then, but that's what they're projecting.
Well, you know what? It could impact those projections? The borders,
Yeah.
the borders are it could
Well,
impact
yeah.
those projections.
I mean, I think that's right, right? Like, I do think immigration policy is real here in both directions, right? You've seen other countries face similar decreases in fertility and birth rates, and their economies need to actually encourage folks to immigrate to their countries to be able to deal with that employment shortage. It's what happened here in the 1800s, right? Like, so, like, there's real, like, the amount of openness or closeness of our borders will have an impact on these numbers in the future.
Yeah, but listen, some people don't want to be the model minorities or whatever, which is why we're in the situation that we have now. If people were
Let
just
me go drink my
accepting of the
soda.
fact, if people were just accepting of the fact that the global majority is going to be the majority, then we would be able to have some real tough conversations about how things could look and how equity could look writ large. But we're not there yet. And yeah, I'm gonna drink my water too because save myself.
And I would say too, like, with the number of graduates increasing who identify as Latinx, Latino, that doesn't necessarily mean we know what that's going to mean for their college goedness. We've seen in politics most recently, we've seen historically in college goedness that is a community that can't be thought of as a monolith. And so it's really difficult for us to even project what that's going to mean for their college goedness and what that means around their careers in the future. So I think there are a lot of open questions when you look at this data. And things
Yeah,
we got to plan for.
100%. All right. So the
Yeah.
next up is what are some potential implications of the projected decline in high school graduates for different regions of the United States, particularly those with the steepest drops. And so immediately when I think about this, right, I guess it speaks to what you're saying in terms of like factory workers and like and even like the skilled professions, right? So like when you I think about somebody was telling me, someone was like, oh, they made the analogy, they were like, it is tougher for me to get an appointment with my plumber than it is for
Yeah.
me to get an appointment with my cardiologist, right? And so that just
Hmm.
tells you like how these skilled working fields are quite can be quite successful and quite in demand. And so, what are we looking at in terms of because when I think about college readiness, right? I think that a lot of the things that we leave out in terms of folks being
Yeah.
workforce development ready in
Hmm.
order to go out into the workforce. I think that we leave that out because not everybody. I don't want to say everybody college isn't for everybody. I don't want to say that, right? I want to,
Hmm.
but I want to say everybody should be college ready if they choose to go to college, but everybody should be ready to work.
Yeah.
Does that make
Everybody
sense?
should have everybody should have a post-secondary plan, right? They're going to
Yeah.
graduate from high school. They want to have, if you want to have a good life, you've got to think about what you want to do, right? Your career, and be ready for a career. And for some students, that is going to not be a college degree, and that's okay. I think that's why we hear so many folks you've talked about. I've seen so many folks at the high school level and at the college level talk about alternate post-secondary pathways, building out ways for students who aren't able or don't want to get a college degree to be able to find other ways of being able to build economic and social mobility, whether through credentials, stackable credentials you hear a lot about. And my point of view has always been, I think we've always talked about this, like the student who can either get their college degree or they can go for these licensures and stackable credentials. And my point of view is like, I don't think we should be thinking about them separately. These should be yes ands, right? And so why can't a student who's going through a college course on X be able to receive a credential or something for that, so they can start in their part-time, while they're working part-time, start to earn incremental revenue that comes, or incremental income that comes with having that credential. So I think we need to stop thinking about these things as competing and start thinking about how they coexist together, right? To be able to say, I both got a college degree and I have these stackable credentials and I have these things that come along with it. And so I think that's what higher ed and K-12 is going to have to do a lot of thinking about, as these numbers drop, is what does the future workforce actually need, and how do we properly prepare our students for that workforce?
Yes, sir. Let's jump right into the next question because I want to make sure we get everything. How about COVID-19's pandemic impact on K-12 education, such as learning loss and absenteeism, affect future high school graduation rates and college readiness? I mean, I could jump in here, right? So, like, I think that some people were extremely prepared for COVID and crisis, right? And most others were not. For those people that had one-to-one devices and that were ready to
Mhm.
have them deployed, for those people that had teachers that were willing to come back into the building and risk their lives in order to kind of stabilize just COVID-19 and just to bring back some normalcy in terms of parents being able to go back to work and all those things. Shout out to them because a lot of people weren't, and I understand that too, right? But for those people
Mhm.
that were more COVID ready, we'll call it, they experienced more success. And so learning
Mhm.
loss wasn't a thing for us. It wasn't a thing for like other high performing, high ready institutions that, knew that, this could be really bad and plan for it, right? There was a
Mhm.
lot of money that was given in order for folks to kind of navigate the nuances of COVID learning loss. Folks didn't spend their money well, put themselves in deficit, and just didn't do a real good job. But that's not everybody. And so, like,
Yeah.
all of this stuff in terms of like learning loss and like the COVID impact or whatever, like, I don't want to hear that as an excuse anymore because it wasn't everybody. And we're
Yeah.
post COVID now. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I mean, I think this is another example, right, where schools that don't have the right structure, the right support systems, the right infrastructure and resources are obviously doing worse off than schools that were had different leadership, had made different choices. And so, in a world where we're trying to make sure that every student has a chance to be successful, like what's our responsibility as as a country to be able to support those students who, for no fault of their own, were at a school that didn't have the right, preparedness level, leadership level. And so I think I don't see it as an excuse, but I think we have to realize that, unless we're willing to sort of write off the population of students who are going to school right now, we've got to figure out a solution to be able to support those students, right? I mean, not all of them had Ray or G running their schools, right? And so I don't think that's the students' fault, right? And so how do we make sure that those students who fall back, we can help bring them back on track? It should not be an excuse, but we should also not ignore the fact that there's real impact for those populations of students.
Yeah, no, you hit on something there. All right, so this is the last question because we've got tight schedules and stuff. We got people
That's right.
looking at this
I
stuff.
got they're waiting for me.
Matter of fact, so we'll skip this question. We'll part to it. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Let's go Mets. Juan Soto, I'm glad to have you here. From one Puerto Rican to a Dominican. Que lo que? I'm ready for a good season.
Bro, y'all don't even like each other.
Yeah, we do. Why you causing problems for?
All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.